Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. The topic assigned to me is guidelines for business dealings between members of the BCLP. Our goal is to explain the BCLP guidelines for business dealings between members and to explain the procedure in working out business conflicts between members. This topic is divided into two parts. We have the general guidelines, which consist of 9 subtopics, and the guidelines for a specific business relationship. Let's go to the first, the general guidelines. Number 1, the basic commitment. The commitment to love and serve one another, think precedence over the pursuit of profit or economic gain. Our commitment is to be ready to meet one another's need with our personal help and resources, and to look upon one another's welfare as our own. Next guidelines. We have the righteousness. We are committed to a life of righteousness, to a life of holiness, not just individually, but also as a body. All our business dealings are to be conducted in a righteous and just way. That is in accordance with the Christian tenets and the principles pertaining to a particular business situation at hand. In Proverbs chapter 16, verse 8, it says, "It is better to have a little honestly earned than to have a large income dishonestly gained." And that's guidelines on proper stewardship. Brothers and sisters, we are stewards of the talent and resources entrusted to us by the Lord. Remember, we are just stewards. We are not owners. We are just caretakers. And it is our duty and responsibility to harness, develop, and utilize them properly, and to exert our best effort to preserve the viability and profitability of our business. And that is to contribute to the common good and continue to serve each other's need. Let me tell you a story of the parable of the 3 stewards. There was once a businessman named Mr. Owen, who owned a small but a growing company. One day he called his 3 employees and said, "I'm leaving for a year. I'm entrusting each of you with something precious. Here is my resources. Use them wisely until I return." The first he gave 1 million, to the second 500,000, and the third 100,000, each according to their ability. And the first employee worked hard, invested wisely, and doubled the amount. And the second used his share to start a small business and earned more than double. But the third was afraid to take risks. He borrowed the amount in a box, saying, at least I won't lose it. And when Mr. Owen returned, he was so happy and pleased with the first two and said, well done. You have been faithful in small things. I will trust you with greater ones. But the third day said sadly, you did nothing with what I gave you. You wasted the opportunity to serve and to grow. Brothers and sisters, like those three stewards, God entrusts each of us with time, with our family, with our pleasure, not for gain, but to use for His glory and the good of others. Stewardship is not about how much we have, but how faithfully we use what we have been given. When we manage God's blessing wisely, with integrity, with gratitude and purpose, He multiplies them and calls us good and faithful servants. As in Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 says, whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart, and though you are working for the Lord and not for men. Next guidance. The guidance of the brotherhood. The problem and the differences arising from business relations may lead to a breakdown of relationships. And such context not only affect the members who are meant to love and serve, to serve one another, but also it affects the unity and peace in the community. Business dealings with members should therefore be shared with our chapter head or with our unit leader, that is for information and guidance. And this leader should handle the situation according to their level of competence. Brothers and sisters, our character is sometimes influenced by the P and S. What is this P and S? It is our pride and our self-righteousness. Ang pride, ang gawa ay humility. Di ba naman maubos? Self-righteousness. Ikaw ang permi ang tama. Hindi ay nakarawat sa mali. Ako lang. Now, these connected traits are very critical to the organization or business because it ruins relationships and destroys the organization. Brothers and sisters, God is calling us to change our PS to a new PS. We have our PSS. We have our pride. Sometimes we are self-centered. God is calling us to change to a new one. Change your P, your pride, as what Father Jerry almost says. BCLP, BC, but prayerful. Prayerful. Teach your pride to prayer. And your S, self-righteousness. Change it to service. Serve God with humility, with faithfulness. Be humble enough. the neutrality and independence of our chapter head, unit leader, and action group leader. It is a wise policy for the leaders to generally inhibit themselves from entering into business with any of the members under their care. That is, to help them in safeguarding and ensuring the leaders' freedom in the objective input and direction affecting not only the personal life of their men, but also their business affairs. In 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 1, it says, I, who am an elder myself, appeal to the church elders among you. I am a witness of Christ's sufferings, and I will share the glory that will be revealed. I appeal to you to be shepherds of the flock that God gave you, and to take care of that willingly, as God wants you to, and not unwillingly. Though you work not for a mere pay, but from a real desire to serve. Do not try to rule over those who have been put in your care, but be examples of the love. Be examples of the love. The next guidelines: openness to spouses and all their lives. Husbands, mga alas, are to be open to their wives in whatever business deals they may be involved in. Ayaw magsekreto ka. A wife is to secure her husband's approval before entering into a business relationship. Okay, di ba? In Ephesians chapter 5 verse 22 to 31, it says, wives, submit yourself to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband has authority over his wife, just as Christ has authority over the church. And Christ is himself the Savior of the church. And that is his body. And so wives must submit themselves completely to their husbands, just as the church submits itself to Christ. Husbands, dearly come what liberate. Love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave his life for it. He did this to dedicate the church to God by his word. After making it clean by washing it in water, in order to present the church to himself, in all its beauty, pure and faultless, without spot or wrinkle, or any other imperfection. Men ought to love their wives just as they love their own bodies. A man who loves his wife loves himself. No one ever hates his own body. Instead, he feeds it and takes care of it, just as Christ does the church, for we are members of his body. As the scripture says, for this reason, a man will leave his wife and leave his father and mother, and unite with his wife, and the two will become one. Next guidelines. Anatomy speech. Dahil magkaroon natin mga baba. Sharing by others of any information, particularly those arising from business difficulties, should always be guided by righteous and prudent use of speech. Namatian ang istorya sa feeders and the wind. Once in a small village, there lived a woman who loved to gossip. Chikadura, Maritisorada. She would often talk about her neighbors. Exaggerating stories, mahimay mo istorya, adding her own opinion, and spreading rumors for our good in Kamaritis. And one day, she told a heartful lie about a kind man in their village. And the story spread quickly, and soon the people began to avoid buying his story. His reputation was ruined, and his heart was deeply wounded. Later, the woman realized the harm she had caused. Filled with guilt, she went to the local priest. Father, she said, I have spoken badly about someone. How can I make it right? The priest thought for a moment and said, go home, say a pillow, cut it, open it on the hip, then come back. And the woman was puzzled, but she obeyed the priest. When she returned, the priest asked, what happened? The feathers flow everywhere, she said. The wind is scattered, being far and wide. Now, said the priest gently, go, gather every feather. But that's impossible, she exclaimed. The priest nodded. So, it is with your words, once spoken, hindi ka na be taken back. And the woman waited, realizing the truth from the day on. She chose her words carefully, speaking only to build others up and not to tear them down. Brothers and sisters, words have power to heal or to destroy. When used without prudence, speech can damage reputation and can damage friendship and even our souls. But when guided by love and wisdom, our words become an instrument of peace. Diba? Next, openness and full disclosure. Openness and full disclosure are not just business ethics. They are spiritual disciplines. When we hide information, we build walls. But when we speak of honesty, we build trust. Trust is the foundation of the true fellowship. Another story. Let's listen to the honest mechanic. A senior leader brought her car to a young mechanic in the community. After checking, the mechanic said, it's a simple fix, 500 siguro for labor. But then he paused and said honestly, actually he just needed tightening, no parts needed. Let's make it 100 siguro okay. And the senior leader smiled and replied, brother, your honesty just give your business more value than the peso, than the 1,000 peso it would have. No tayo magsumata na matura. Next, working out conflicts. Being a member of the same body, we are duty-bound to exert our every effort to resolve in a conflict or misunderstanding in an amicable manner, and that is to preserve the loving personal relationships and to prevent harm or injury to the community. If the controversy cannot be resolved by the members involved, the dispute would be elevated to the chapter head or to whomsoever he may designate to handle the dispute. Court litigation should only be resorted to a last resort. Another story. Let's listen to the divided music ministry. The music ministry. The two choir members argued about the song to sing during their company's anniversary celebration. One said, "We should sing loud praises." The other said, "No, quiet worship. Sige nga sokiko, sige nga sokiko." So they went to the priest, who smiled and said, "Why not start low and end quiet?" Tama naman. That way, both your heart will be right at least once during that song. At nagkatatawa, and they learn to compromise. In conflict, winning isn't the goal. Unity is. Brothers and sisters, conflicts are not the problem. Refusing to resolve is. When pride and silence take over, relationships suffer. But when humility and forgiveness steps in, peace follows. God doesn't expect us to be perfect. He expects us to be a peacemakers. Next guidelines. The second part. It has 5 sub-topics. Specific business relationships. Let's go to corporation, partnership, and joint venture. All possible conflicts of interest situation are to be avoided, and the member concerned has the duty to make a full disclosure of all facts and circumstances. He must inhibit himself from all the deliberations on the matter, and he can only proceed with the express consent of other members. Discussions or decisions are to be made by consensus or majority. And they not always be unanimous. But if a member has a serious objection and thereby adversely affects the peace in the body, the alternative would be to buy out the dissenting member, and that is to preserve the loving personal relationship. And having exhausted all efforts yet unable to resolve the issue, the parties may resort to litigation. There was a prideful manager. The story on pride and self-righteousness. Daniel was a brilliant team leader in a multinational corporation. His team delivered an impressive result, but he often took all the credit. When problem arose, he blamed others. Alay na. Kulit nga ni iyan, problema nga ni sa iba. When others are blessed with more talent and excels performance, kulit niya tukulin lang. He did not want others to be up. Iya yung kikinuntra. Over the time, his pride and self-righteousness, it caused division, and his team members lost motivation and cooperation spirit. One day, a crisis happened. The major client complained about the poor service. Daniel realized that without his team's support, he could not fix it. Humbled, he apologized, and he began valuing everyone's input. The team slowly rebuilt trust, and the client relationship was restored. Brothers and sisters, in business, pride isolates, but humility unites. True leadership listens. It shares credit. It admits mistakes. Next, specific guidelines. It is on supplier and customer. Professional client. Product not being the only consideration, the supplier of the product or services has the obligation to look after the welfare of his client. However, the pricing of the product and services must be in the light of the teaching on the proper stewardship in which no member is required to expect to suffer a business loss or impair the assets of his business enterprise. Nevertheless, the obligation to be generous to one another remained but did not be limited to business transactions. Assisting a member from one's own personal resources may be called for. In Matthew chapter 22, verse 39, it says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So, next guidelines. It is on employer and employee. And boss nga sa subordinate. The employer must deal with all his employees righteously and fairly, relating to them not as a unit of work, but as a human being deserving love and respect. Small savings for her grandchildren's future. She didn't understand much about the policies. She simply trusted Miguel. Seeing his sincerity, Miguel realized he could easily sell here a high commission plan that benefited him more than Mrs. Santos. Naglakad tayo niya pinsan. For a moment, a greed whispered in his ear. No one will know. But another voice, quiet yet firm, spoke to his heart. You are here not just to sell, but to serve. And Miguel paused, looked at Mrs. Santos and said, Ma'am, actually, there's actually another plan that uses smaller return for me. But it will protect your siblings better. And tears welled upon her eyes as she said, Thank you, son. I prayed this morning that God would send me an honest broker. Miguel walked away that day without the bigger commission, but with something far more valuable, and that is peace. From then on, he made a vow that every deal, the first question would no longer be, how much will I earn, but how can I serve? Brothers and sisters, in business, relationships are often tested by not in abundance, but in the moments of quiet temptation. Like Miguel, we are all brokers in same way. Entrusted with the confidence of others, our words and actions can either build or betray that trust. When we choose honesty over profit, compassion over convenience, we mirror the very heart of Christ, the divine broker, who gives not only to gain, but to save us. May we learn to conduct our dealings with the clean hands in your hearts, remembering that integrity is the best investment, and that every act of honesty bestows treasure, not in banks, but in heaven. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. God bless you.